The helicopter tilted into its descent, blades slicing through swirling amber leaves that danced like restless spirits over the valley. Below, a haunting geometry unfolded, rows of 47 concrete foundations arranged with mathematical precision across the earth. Empty rectangles where homes once stood, silent markers of a vanished community. From the air, it looked less like farmland and more like a cemetery carved by design. Clara Whitmore pressed her forehead to the helicopter window, her silver hair whipping across her cheeks in the draft. Her voice broke as she whispered, "I promised him I'd never come here." For 21 years of marriage, she had honored that vow. For 3 long days of widowhood, she had wrestled with whether to keep it still. Now, with her husband buried beneath Georgia soil, she was breaking it at last, flying toward the place he had called the Hollow Creek Estate, a name spoken rarely, with reverence and dread. Her mind replayed the day it all began. "Do you, Clara Elaine Rivers, take this man to be your lawfully wedded husband?" The words floated back to her through time, soft and golden, like the sunlight that bathed her parents' garden that June day in 2003. She had looked into Daniel Whitmore's kind brown eyes and felt as though the world had narrowed to that single moment. "I do," she had said, meaning it with her whole soul. Their reception had sparkled with champagne, laughter, and the easy warmth of 2 families entwining. After sunset, Daniel had taken her hand and led her to the quiet pond at the edge of the estate. He had been solemn then, his expression shadowed by something unspoken. "Clara, there's something I need to ask of you," he had said, his voice low, almost reverent. "There's a property I own. It's called Hollow Creek Estate in Wyoming. I need your promise that you'll never go there, never ask me about it." She had laughed at first, thinking it was a playful jest. "Is that where you keep all your secrets, or perhaps an old flame you don't want me meeting?" But Daniel hadn't laughed. His eyes held fear, real fear. "It's the only promise I'll ever ask you to make without explanation. Please trust me on this. Stay away from Hollow Creek." And so she had promised. For 21 years, through birthdays and Christmases, through cross-country trips and candlelit anniversaries, she had kept her word. Each month when Daniel packed a small bag and said only, "I need to check on some investments," she kissed him goodbye and asked nothing. Now, as the helicopter circled over the valley, that promise felt like an iron chain around her heart. Daniel's funeral had been a blur of black suits, murmured condolences, and hollow embraces. He had gone for his usual morning jog and never come back, his heart failing suddenly on the wooded path. The coroner had called it a tragic but natural cardiac event. Clara wasn't so sure. After the last of the mourners left, Clara found herself alone in his study, searching for insurance papers. Instead, she discovered something else, a leather-bound journal, its pages filled with Daniel's precise handwriting. Coordinates, dates, strange symbols, names she didn't recognize, cryptic notes scribbled in the margins. On the final page, written just 2 weeks earlier, were words that shattered her world. "If anything happens to me, Clara must know the truth. Coordinates to main facility, 44721 Degen, 10721 Iwa. The key is hidden in the cathedral model." Her gaze had darted instantly to the bookshelf. Daniel's pride and joy was his collection of architectural miniatures. With trembling hands, she lifted the small replica of Notre Dame Cathedral. To her shock, a hidden compartment clicked open. Inside lay a USB drive. Heart pounding, Clara slipped it into her laptop, the screen filled with Daniel's face, tired, resolute, eyes rimmed with secrets. "Clara, my love," he began, his voice both a comfort and a dagger. "If you're watching this, it means I'm gone. I've spent 2 decades keeping a vow to protect people who could not protect themselves. Now, I must ask you to break your promise to me. You need to go to Hollow Creek Estate. Everything is explained there. But hurry. There are forces already moving to erase it all. I'm sorry for the secrets. Please forgive me. I love you more than life itself." The video ended abruptly, leaving Clara staring at the frozen image of the man she thought she fully knew. Then her phone buzzed, a text from a number she didn't recognize. "Mrs. Whitmore, urgent matters regarding Wyoming property. Meridian Resource Group has filed for immediate cleanup and demolition beginning Monday. Call me at once. Henry Alcott, attorney for the estate." It was Friday evening. That left her less than 72 hours. Henry Alcott's office smelled of leather and cedar polish. He was a tall, bespectacled man with an air of nervous professionalism. "Mrs. Whitmore," he began, "I apologize for reaching out during your grief, but circumstances are urgent. Your late husband arranged unusual legal conditions regarding Hollow Creek Estate." The property belongs to a trust in your name, but only if you personally access the main facility within 7 days of his passing. There's a code system. Today's code is in this envelope. Clara opened it with shaking hands. And if I don't? She asked. Then ownership defaults to Meridian Resource Group. They've filed claims citing environmental hazards. They'll have the legal right to demolish and remediate the land. Bulldozers will arrive Monday morning. Clara's stomach churned. Why would Daniel create such impossible conditions? Your husband was cautious. He wanted only you to decide its fate. But there's more, Alcott added, sliding another document forward. He maintained this property with funds hidden through several entities, and he carried a $75 million life insurance policy in your name, designated for maintaining Hollow Creek. Clara gripped the edge of the chair. $75 million? That's impossible. I would have known. It was buried under business holdings. He was deliberate about secrecy, Alcott said carefully. What exactly is on that land, Mr. Alcott? His eyes flickered. I don't know, and I've learned not to ask. But your husband believed it was worth everything. Mrs. Whitmore, be very careful. There are people who would do anything to erase Hollow Creek. Back home, Clara scoured Daniel's study for more answers. Behind his suits, she found a locked cabinet, its key hidden in plain sight among his others. Inside lay 3 encrypted phones, blueprints of underground structures, and a thick notebook filled with medical data. Heart rates, dosage charts, notes about something called cardiac implant remote access protocol. One word was circled in red again and again, vulnerable. The sunrise bled across the blinds when her phone rang. It was her younger sister, Lillian. Clara, are you okay? No, Clara admitted. Daniel had secrets, big ones, and I think they killed him. Is this about those mysterious trips of his? Lillian asked softly. Yes, I need to go to Wyoming today. I'm coming with you. No, I need to do this alone, but I need your help. Find me a pilot, someone discreet. An hour later, Lillian texted back. Rosa Mendoza, private pilot, knows mountain terrain. Call her. And Clara, please be careful. At the small Sheridan airfield in Wyoming, Clara clutched her suitcase, exhaustion heavy in her bones. The crisp autumn air smelled of pine and smoke. A woman approached, her weathered face framed by dark braids, eyes sharp with quiet strength. Clara Whitmore? She asked. Yes. Rosa Mendoza, your sister said you need to reach Hollow Creek. As they walked toward the sleek helicopter, Rosa spoke abruptly. My daughter was an investigative journalist. 2 years ago, she was tracking corporate pollution. She mentioned a man named Whitmore, said he was helping whistleblowers. Then her car brakes failed. She never made it home. I think she was close to exposing something. Clara's throat tightened. Meridian is trying to seize my husband's property. He said it was the truth he'd been protecting all along. Rosa's jaw hardened. Then let's go find it. The helicopter rose, banking toward the jagged ridges ahead, and for the first time since Daniel's death, Clara felt the icy weight of grief shift into something new, determination. The helicopter thundered over ridges clothed in red and gold, the horizon awash in autumn fire. Rosa adjusted the controls, her hands steady, her gaze sharp. Your coordinates lead to a valley 30 minutes from here, she said into the headset. Locals call it Hollow Creek Valley. Isolated. Forgotten. Some say cursed. Clara's chest tightened. She gripped the folded paper Henry Alcott had given her, today's code written in his neat hand. Daniel built something here, she murmured, something he thought was worth hiding for 20 years. The ridges gave way, and the valley yawned before them. Clara gasped aloud. Below, devastation stretched like an open wound. 47 rectangular foundations, clean and precise, lined the valley floor. Homes had been demolished with surgical accuracy, leaving only concrete footprints. At the center, one massive building remained intact, carved partly into the hillside, crowned with glinting solar panels. My God, Clara whispered. It's like a ghost town. Rosa circled lower. This wasn't nature. Look at the pattern. Too perfect, too deliberate. Controlled demolition. Someone wanted every trace of life erased. The helicopter touched down near a gravel clearing that served as a landing pad. Clara stepped out, the crisp air searing her lungs. Silence pressing around her like a held breath. No birds, no rustling branches, just the whine of cooling rotors. This doesn't look abandoned, Rosa observed. Landing pad's clear, power systems running. Someone's been maintaining this place. Together they approached the central structure. Security cameras swiveled, tracking them. At the heavy steel door, a keypad waited. Clara pulled out the envelope. Her hands shook as she typed, 7HV42210, promise. For 21 years, she had kept her promise never to come here. Now, breaking it felt like the only way to honor Daniel's memory. The keypad flashed green, the lock released with a hiss. The steel door swung inward. They stepped into a pristine corridor sloping into the earth. Motion sensors triggered lights overhead, illuminating walls lined with framed architectural blueprints, all drawn in Daniel's distinctive hand. Housing units, a hydroponic garden, medical facilities, classrooms. He designed all this, Clara whispered. It wasn't just a ranch, it was a sanctuary. At the end of the corridor lay a circular control room. Screens covered the walls. One monitor glowed with a pulsing message. Identity confirmed. Clara Whitmore. Access granted to primary protocols. Beneath it a simple prompt. Play final message. Clara pressed the button. The monitors flickered. Daniel's face filled every screen. He looked weary, hair disheveled, eyes burning with urgency. The timestamp read recorded 10 days earlier. Clara, he began, if you're watching this, I'm gone, and you've broken your promise. Thank you. Some promises must be broken when the cost of keeping them is too high. He leaned forward, voice low. 25 years ago, before we met, I worked on a corporate project for Meridian Industries. A construction worker named Miguel found documents proving they were dumping toxins into nearby rivers. He and his wife tried to expose it. Days later, their house burned down. With them inside, only their children survived. The screen shifted, showing photographs of the Espinosa family. Clara pressed her hand to her mouth. I knew it wasn't an accident, Daniel continued. I tracked down the children, helped them start over, and I made a vow that I would build a place where truth-tellers, whistleblowers, and survivors could be safe. That place became Hollow Creek. Blueprints appeared, dated 1999, early designs of the sanctuary, families in gardens, children in classrooms, patients treated in underground clinics. When you met me, Clara, I was already 5 years into this project. I asked you never to come here because I feared for your safety. Every time I said I was checking investments, I was here. Every encrypted call, every sleepless night. It was all for them. This has been my life's work. His expression hardened. But Meridian discovered Hollow Creek 3 years ago. They couldn't destroy us openly, so they sent warnings, first lawsuits, then accidents, then precision demolitions like the houses you saw outside. They wanted us to know they could reach us anywhere. We evacuated most residents, but the central facility remained. Daniel held up a small medical device, a pacemaker. 6 months ago, I realized something darker. Sanctuary founders across the country began dying, always sudden cardiac arrests. All of them had implants like this one. The devices were remotely accessed. What was designed to monitor hearts was turned into a weapon. My own device is the same model. Clara felt her blood freeze. If my heart failed, Clara, it wasn't natural. Meridian has learned to kill without leaving evidence. I've gathered proof, documents, recordings, data. You'll find it in the evidence room. Use it or walk away. Either choice is yours. But know this, Meridian won't stop until every sanctuary is destroyed, every survivor silenced. He paused, eyes softening, voice trembling. I love you more than anything. Forgive me for the secrets. Whatever you choose, make it count. The screen went black. Clara stood rooted, tears sliding silently down her cheeks. Daniel's double life had not been betrayal, it had been sacrifice. Rosa's voice broke the silence. Your husband, he was trying to save people like my Maria. Her hands clenched at her sides. He wasn't just protecting strangers, he was fighting the same enemy that killed her. Before Clara could answer, a red light flashed across the control room monitors. An alert scrolled. Perimeter breach detected. Vehicle approaching North Access Road. Rosa tensed. Do we have security systems? Clara fumbled through the menus. Cameras activated, revealing a dusty pickup truck crawling toward the facility. Authorized maintenance personnel, the system identified. Rosa exhaled slowly. Then someone else is still running this place. Minutes later, the heavy door creaked open again. An elderly man stepped inside, his frame wiry, his hands calloused, eyes sharp as flint. I'm Joseph Red Elk, he said, voice steady. I kept this sanctuary alive for years, and when the system told me Clara Whitmore had arrived, I came. You knew my husband? Clara asked. For 23 years, Joseph said with solemn pride. He saved my life, and many others. He believed someday you would come, that you'd carry on his work if he couldn't. Clara shook her head. I didn't even know this place existed until yesterday. He said you had the strongest compass of anyone he'd met, that once you saw the truth you'd never turn away. Joseph's gaze didn't waver. There are still 34 people depending on this sanctuary. They've scattered nearby, too exposed to move again. You're their last hope. Clara's throat tightened. I'm not sure I can do what he did. Joseph gave a small, sad smile. That's what every protector says at the start. He led them deeper into the facility. They passed hydroponic gardens, bright with tomatoes and leafy greens under artificial lights. A medical wing with modern equipment stood ready. A classroom, desks, small and large, still bore children's drawings taped to the walls. This wasn't a bunker, Clara whispered. It was a community. They reached a wide hall. One wall displayed hundreds of photographs, families, couples, individuals, all once sheltered here. Some looked haunted, others smiled in later images healed by time. A section called the Courage Gallery showed whistleblowers beside newspaper headlines about the scandals they had exposed. Rosa froze, her breath caught in her throat. Maria. Clara followed her gaze. There, among the photographs, was a young woman with determined eyes. The plaque read, Maria Mendoza, journalist. Documented toxic dumping by Meridian subsidiaries, killed before reaching sanctuary, 2022. Rosa touched her daughter's face on the photo, her hands trembling. She was trying to get here. She knew. Clara wrapped an arm around her. Daniel tried to help her. I'm so sorry he couldn't. Joseph stood silently, giving Rosa her grief. Then he gestured farther down the hall to another section marked Memorial Wall. 34 framed portraits stared back, each bearing a founder's name. Daniel's photograph was among them, the frame still gleaming. These were the protectors, Joseph said. 11 have been killed in the past 2 years, now 12 with your husband. Clara swallowed hard, staring at Daniel's face immortalized among fallen heroes. He left instructions, Joseph said quietly, for when this day came. The evidence room waits, but you must decide what to do with it. Walk away, or carry the torch. Clara stood before her husband's portrait, her heart torn between grief and a rising fire she hadn't felt before. I don't know what I'll choose yet, she whispered, but I know I can't walk away, not now. Joseph led Clara and Rosa through another corridor, deeper into the hillside. Their footsteps echoed against smooth concrete walls until they reached a steel door marked only with a single word, Archives. This is the evidence room, Joseph said, entering a code. The lock disengaged with a hiss. Daniel called it the war room. The door swung open. Clara drew a sharp breath. Inside, the room resembled a command center from a spy thriller. Maps covered the walls, studded with pins and red string connecting distant points. Filing cabinets stretched along one side. In the center, a long table groaned under stacks of binders, neatly labeled. Screens along the wall glowed faintly, displaying encrypted files waiting to be opened. This is everything Daniel gathered, Joseph explained. Every crime Meridian committed, every life they destroyed. Clara stepped to the table. A thick binder lay open, its cover marked in bold black ink, the kill pattern. What's this? She asked. Joseph's expression darkened. The method, how Meridian hunts and eliminates threats. Clara turned the pages. Each section detailed a chillingly systematic process. Stage 1, legal intimidation, lawsuits, cease and desist orders, endless regulatory complaints designed to bury whistleblowers in paperwork. Stage 2, financial strangulation. Bank accounts frozen, contracts canceled, careers destroyed overnight. Stage 3, reputation erosion, false stories planted in media, whisper campaigns labeling whistleblowers unstable, untrustworthy. Stage 4, convenient accidents, car crashes, gas leaks, drownings. Stage 5, medical termination, remote interference with implanted devices, pacemakers, insulin pumps designed to kill without leaving evidence. Clara's fingers trembled as she traced the red circles around several names. They turned medicine into murder. Joseph nodded gravely. Daniel discovered at least 17 deaths linked to their program. 4 were sanctuary founders, including him. Rosa's jaw tightened. My daughter's brakes failing, that was stage 4. Yes, Joseph said softly. When intimidation failed, they moved to permanent solutions. Clara flipped to another section. Photographs stared back at her, 11 men and women, each with notes about their deaths. Alan Bricker, she read aloud. Cardiac arrest while jogging, 2022. Margaret Chen. Cardiac arrest in sleep, 2023. William Okafor. Drowned during swim, 2023. And then her eyes froze on the last entry. Daniel Whitmore. Cardiac arrest, morning jog, 2024. Her breath caught. Seeing his name listed among assassinated founders made it brutally real. Joseph laid a steady hand on her shoulder. They silenced him the same way they silenced the others, but his evidence is still here. He guided them to a locked cabinet. Inside were folders stamped with red labels. Pack Initiative. Joseph pulled one out. Daniel believed this was the smoking gun, Meridian's patient-accessible cardiac leads program, officially developed for better heart monitoring. In reality, it was weaponized. Clara scanned the pages. Technical diagrams showed pacemakers connected to remote servers. Margin notes described maximum parameter adjustments and silent override protocols. They weren't just monitoring hearts, Joseph explained grimly. They built back doors to shut them down. Daniel found internal memos proving executives knew about it and used it. Clara's stomach churned. He had one of these devices. Yes, Joseph said. He knew his life was a countdown once they discovered he was close to exposing them. Rosa whispered, and he still kept going, for the people depending on him. Clara closed the folder with trembling hands. We have to finish what he started. Another cabinet revealed financial records. Clara pulled a binder labeled Sanctuary Property Acquisitions. Inside were ledgers showing billions funneled through shell companies. A chart caught her eye, profits exceeding $2 billion from land seized after sanctuary destruction. They profit off erasure, Clara murmured. Destroy a sanctuary, claim environmental hazards, acquire the land dirt cheap, then redevelop it into luxury resorts. Joseph nodded. It's not just about silencing whistleblowers anymore. It's a business model, a deadly one. Rosa's voice trembled with fury. They killed my daughter for profit. Clara turned to another section of the archive. Here were dossiers, profiles of 34 survivors still connected to the sanctuary network. Engineers, doctors, journalists, ordinary witnesses who'd seen too much. Each file contained evidence they had against Meridian, medical records, even family ties. They're planning to wipe them all out, Clara whispered, her stomach turning cold. This isn't just evidence, it's a kill list. Joseph's face was grim. That's why Daniel built redundancies. He wanted every truth documented so it couldn't be buried with him. He reached for a sealed container on a shelf. This is the complete case. Daniel finished compiling it 2 days before he died. Clara reached for it, but Joseph held her back. Once you open this, you're marked. Meridian will stop at nothing to destroy you. Daniel wanted you to understand the risk before deciding. Clara looked at the box, then at her husband's photograph etched in memory. He died for this. How can I turn away? A soft chime interrupted her thoughts. Joseph pulled out a secure device. His eyes darkened. The survivors are requesting an emergency council. They know Daniel is gone. They've been waiting for you. Clara blinked. For me? Joseph nodded. Daniel left instructions. If he fell, you would inherit not just his property but his role. The survivors trust his word. Rosa touched Clara's arm. Clara, you don't have to do this alone, but maybe they need to see someone willing to stand where Daniel stood. Clara took a steadying breath. Then let's meet them. The communication center was a large room converted from a classroom. Desks had been pushed aside to make room for an arc of monitors and encrypted systems. Joseph moved quickly, activating secure channels. One of our first residents was a cybersecurity expert, he explained. He designed this system. It bounces signals across continents, nearly impossible to trace. Screens flickered to life, one by one. Faces appeared, some clear, others shadowed, some showing only silhouettes. 34 in total. Joseph gestured to the central screen. These are the survivors. Scientists, journalists, engineers, whistleblowers, all with evidence Meridian wants erased. A stern woman with silver hair appeared in the largest window. Her voice was calm but firm. Joseph, is it true? Is Clara Whitmore with you? Yes, Joseph replied. This is Daniel's wife. The woman's eyes softened. Theodore spoke of you often. She paused, correcting herself. Daniel, forgive me. I knew him as Theodore, the protector. He was careful to keep your worlds apart. Clara's heart clenched. He had lived even under an alias here. The woman continued. We are sorry for your loss, and we are grateful you came. Daniel believed you would decide what happens next. One by one, survivors began speaking. A chemist described discovering poisoned groundwater near a Meridian site, only to be discredited and fired. An accountant explained uncovering fraudulent cleanup contracts. A truck driver recounted being ordered to dump barrels of toxic waste in rivers. Then a young woman spoke from a dimly lit room. Her voice shook, but her words cut deep. My name is Carmen Espinosa. My parents were Miguel and Carmen, killed 25 years ago when they tried to expose Meridian's dumping. Mr. Whitmore saved my brother and me, gave us new lives. I grew up to fight for justice as a lawyer. When they connected me to my past, I had to disappear again, but I never forgot his promise. Clara's chest ached. Daniel had told her part of this story, but hearing it from Carmen brought it to life. The council continued, scientists, journalists, everyday citizens, all carrying scars of truth. Finally, Marie, the silver-haired woman, addressed Clara directly. The decision is yours. Daniel left you the evidence. You can destroy it. Give it to authorities and hope for protection, or fight. What do you choose? Dozens of faces stared from the screens, lives hanging on her answer. Clara's heart pounded. She thought of Daniel's message, make it count. She thought of Rosa's daughter, of the photographs in the Courage Gallery, of every file in the kill list. I don't know yet, she admitted, but I promise you this, I will not walk away. And for the first time since Daniel's death, her words felt like strength. The silence in the communication center was thick, heavy as stone. 34 faces stared from the screens, each carrying years of exile, fear, and fragile hope. Clara felt the weight of their expectation pressing down on her shoulders. Marie, the silver-haired woman, spoke with calm authority. We cannot remain in limbo. Daniel's protocols were clear. If he fell, you would decide. But before you speak, Mrs. Whitmore, we should vote. All voices matter here. Clara blinked. Vote on what? Marie lifted a hand. 3 choices. 1, we destroy all evidence and scatter deeper into hiding. 2, we surrender the evidence to federal authorities and trust they'll protect us. 3, we expose Meridian publicly, with all risks that entails. A murmur rippled across the screens. Some faces looked hopeful, others grim. I can't make this decision for you, Clara said softly. You've lived with these dangers far longer than I have. What do you want? Marie nodded approvingly. Then let's vote. The first to speak was Carmen Espinosa, her voice steady though her eyes glistened. My parents died because they trusted the system. I've spent 25 years in the shadows waiting for justice that never came. I will not hide anymore. My vote is for exposure, option 3. Others followed. A retired engineer. I haven't seen my grandchildren in a decade. I want them to know the truth. A young journalist. If we vanish, Meridian wins. I choose to fight. One by one, the votes echoed the same choice. When the last voice fell silent, Marie announced the tally. 34 votes, 34 for option 3. Clara's chest tightened. They weren't afraid of death anymore. They were afraid of silence. Then it's settled, Marie said. We fight, but the question remains, how? Before Clara could respond, a shrill alarm blared. Red lights strobed across the communication center. Joseph lunged for the console. Security breach, he barked. Multiple incursions, physical and digital. On the monitors, alerts scrolled rapidly. Unauthorized entry detected. Cyber intrusion active. Data purge protocol initiated. Clara's eyes widened. Data purge? Joseph's fingers flew over the keyboard. A failsafe Daniel built. If the sanctuary was compromised, all digital files would erase. It's designed to protect identities, but if it finishes now, every piece of evidence is gone. How long? Clara demanded. Joseph pulled up a countdown. 23 hours, 59 minutes. One day, he said grimly. I slowed it, but I can't stop it. By tomorrow night, all evidence vanishes unless we secure it. Rosa's voice was taut. And the physical breach? Joseph switched to security feeds. Cameras showed a sleek black SUV rolling up the north road. A woman stepped out, tall, poised, clad in a sharp suit. She looked directly at the camera, as if she knew exactly where it was. That's Helena Vance, Joseph said, his voice low with anger. Meridian's chief operating officer. Clara's pulse thundered. She came herself? Yes, Joseph said. This is their endgame. The intercom crackled, Helena's voice filling the sanctuary with cool precision. Mrs. Whitmore, I know you're inside. I come unarmed, alone, as your systems confirm. I wish to speak with you directly. This situation need not spiral further. Rosa spat. Liar. These people killed my daughter. They killed your husband. You can't trust a word she says. Clara's hands trembled, but she steadied them against the console. If she came herself, she thinks she can manipulate me. Joseph shook his head. It's a trap, don't give her the chance. But Clara's heart burned with a new clarity. Daniel always said truth was worth risk. If she wants to talk, I'll listen, but not alone. Minutes later, they sat in a neutral conference room within the facility, Clara at the head of the table, Rosa and Joseph flanking her. Helena Vance entered with the poise of someone accustomed to command. Her tailored suit was immaculate, her dark hair pinned back perfectly. She carried no visible weapon, only a leather portfolio. Mrs. Whitmore, she said smoothly, allow me first to express condolences for your husband's passing. Daniel was brilliant, a man of convictions. A man whose pacemaker was hacked by your company, Clara replied coldly. Helena's smile didn't falter. An extraordinary claim, difficult to prove. Rosa slammed her fist on the table. And my daughter's brake lines? Another coincidence? Helena turned her gaze toward her but ignored the question. I understand emotions are high. That's precisely why I came personally, to offer a resolution before this escalates beyond control. Clara leaned forward. What resolution? Helena opened her portfolio, sliding documents across the table. Meridian is prepared to create the Daniel Whitmore Foundation for Environmental Justice. Initial funding, $250 million. $50 million annually thereafter. Programs for whistleblower protection, environmental monitoring, health research. In addition, lifetime financial support for the individuals under your late husband's care. New identities, relocation overseas, comfortable stipends, safety, security, dignity. Clara scanned the neat pages, each clause dripping with calculated generosity. And in exchange? All evidence, all records, total confidentiality. Hollow Creek handed to Meridian for remediation, a clean ending for everyone. Rosa's eyes blazed. Blood money. Helena's smile thinned. A pragmatic solution. People can't live underground forever. Your husband built something admirable, but unsustainable. I offer them a future without fear. And if we refuse? Clara asked. Helena's tone cooled. Then legal mechanisms already in motion will proceed. The court has granted us emergency remediation authority. Crews arrive in 36 hours. Bulldozers will erase everything, and those you seek to protect will remain fugitives, hunted until they make mistakes, as they always do. Clara's hands curled into fists. You murdered my husband. Helena's eyes flickered just for a second. Then she said softly, I had nothing to do with his tragic passing, but I do understand your grief. Rosa leaned forward, her voice sharp as glass. My daughter's name was Maria. Remember it when you sleep. Helena ignored her, turning back to Clara. You have until tomorrow at noon. Call me with your decision. I'd advise pragmatism, Mrs. Whitmore. You don't yet understand the scale of the forces you face. She rose gracefully, leaving the portfolio and her card behind. As Joseph escorted her out, Rosa muttered, Devil's bargain. Back in the command center, Clara stared at the 3 relentless countdowns. Data purge, 22 hours. Legal seizure, 34 hours. Survivors compromised, unknown. She's offering silence in exchange for safety, Clara whispered. Exactly what they offered Maria before killing her, Rosa said bitterly. Joseph placed the card Helena had left onto the console. What will you do? Clara thought of Daniel, his weary eyes in that final message. Make it count. She lifted her chin. We won't take their offer. We'll fight, but we need a plan, and fast. Joseph's lips twitched into a rare smile. Daniel said you'd choose truth over comfort. He was right. That night, Clara couldn't sleep. She walked the silent corridors, past classrooms, gardens, photographs of the hidden community. Her hand lingered on Daniel's portrait among the fallen protectors. You built this to save others, she whispered. Now it's my turn. Her phone buzzed. A message from Lillian back in Atlanta. Clara, 2 men came to the house asking about Daniel's work in Wyoming. Claimed they were EPA but refused to show ID. What's going on? Clara showed Joseph the text. His face hardened. It's starting. Meridian is probing your life already. We have no time to waste. Clara exhaled slowly, resolve crystallizing inside her. Then we strike first. Dawn bled across the mountains in gold and crimson as Clara stood in the command center, staring at the glowing countdowns. Data purge, 14 hours. Legal seizure, 26 hours. Survivors compromised, imminent. The evidence Daniel had spent decades gathering would vanish unless she acted now. Joseph entered with 2 steaming mugs of coffee. The blackout lifts in 20 minutes. Survivors will reconnect. Clara nodded, exhaustion etched into her features. Then we have 20 minutes to finalize the plan. Rosa leaned against the console, eyes shadowed from a sleepless night. Once we start, there's no turning back. Are you ready? Clara tightened her grip on Daniel's journal. He asked me to make it count. That's what we'll do. When the secure network chimed, one by one the survivors reappeared on the screens. Some were in dimly lit rooms, others outdoors in makeshift shelters. All looked tense, waiting. Marie Running Bear spoke first. We've lost 3. Dr. Alvarez, Thomas Chen, Sophia Williams. They missed their check-ins. We fear they've been taken. A murmur rippled across the group. Clara's chest ached, but she pushed forward. Then we can't waste more time. We have a plan, but it requires every one of you. Over the next hour, Clara laid out a multi-layered strategy. Daniel's dead man's switch would be the core, a simultaneous release of evidence to 47 journalists worldwide. Survivors would provide personal testimonies tailored to their experiences. The goal was avalanche, so much information released at once that Meridian couldn't contain it. It's audacious, Carmen Espinosa said, her voice steady. But it could work. Coordination is everything, Clara emphasized. We move as one. If even one piece falters, Meridian will seize the opening. One by one, survivors nodded. Despite fear, their eyes gleamed with long-buried fire. By midnight, preparations were complete. The purge countdown ticked mercilessly. 2 hours, 11 minutes. Joseph opened the console labeled Dead Man's Switch. A biometric scanner blinked, waiting. Clara placed her palm against it. The system hummed, then flashed green. Primary authentication accepted. Secondary authentication required. Clara frowned. Secondary? A prompt appeared. Where did you first say I love you to Daniel Whitmore? Clara's lips trembled into a bittersweet smile. The Morgan Library in New York, 3rd floor, in front of Jane Austen's Pride and Prejudice. The screen processed, then displayed. Authentication complete. 47 data packets prepared, awaiting final command. Joseph exhaled. Daniel planned for everything. At dawn, Clara called Helena Vance. She answered on the first ring. Mrs. Whitmore, have you reconsidered our offer? I have, Clara said evenly. Let's meet in Sheridan, the Grand Summit Hotel, 8 a.m. Unusual choice, but acceptable, Helena replied smoothly. Shall I bring final paperwork? Bring whatever you like, Clara said. I'll be there, with Rosa Mendoza. Very well, Helena said. 8 a.m. Clara ended the call and turned to Rosa. Time to confront her, on our terms. The hotel restaurant buzzed with morning chatter. Business travelers with laptops, tourists planning hikes. The ordinary hum of life felt surreal to Clara after the hollow silence of Hollow Creek. At precisely 8, Helena arrived, flanked by 2 men in dark suits. She approached with her professional smile and leather portfolio. Mrs. Whitmore, Ms. Mendoza, thank you for meeting me. She sat gracefully. I trust you've reviewed my offer. It remains generous. Clara set her phone on the table, screen facing upward. This conversation is being recorded. I hope that isn't a problem. Helena's smile faltered slightly. Not at all, though it suggests mistrust. Trust should be earned, Clara replied coolly. Tell me, Ms. Vance, do you believe in coincidence? Helena arched an eyebrow. Excuse me? Clara slid a document across the table. An invoice marked Target Monitoring Services. Maria Mendoza's name was printed clearly. Rosa's voice cut like glass. My daughter was watched by your company for 6 months before her brakes failed. Do you still claim ignorance? Helena's composure cracked for a fraction of a second, then returned. We came to negotiate, not trade accusations. Clara glanced at her phone. A digital countdown glowed on the screen. 0202. In 2 minutes, Clara said calmly, 47 journalists across 28 countries will receive Daniel's complete case against Meridian. Financial records, medical data, survivor testimonies, every piece of evidence. Helena's face blanched. You're bluffing. Clara recited names with deliberate calm. The New York Times, The Guardian, Le Monde, Der Spiegel, the Sydney Morning Herald, and 42 more. Helena's security men stiffened. Even if you release it, verification will take weeks. Injunctions will stop publication. Perhaps, Clara said, but the evidence is compelling, and while your lawyers scramble, the public will see. Survivors will testify. The story will spread faster than you can strangle it. Helena's phone buzzed violently on the table. Message after message flashed across her screen. You've made an enemy today, she hissed. Clara's gaze didn't waver. No, I've exposed one. The countdown reached 0. A soft chime echoed from Clara's phone. It's done, she said. Outside, news vans screeched into the parking lot, reporters spilling out with cameras ready. Rosa gave Helena a grim smile. For you, Ms. Vance, it's over. Helena rose, fury flashing in her eyes. This is far from over. As she stalked out, Clara whispered, For you, maybe. For us, it's just beginning. That evening, Joseph called from the sanctuary. His voice carried rare excitement. It worked. All 47 packages delivered. Journalists are already contacting survivors. The story is breaking everywhere. Clara closed her eyes in relief. And the survivors? Safe. Marie activated emergency relocation protocols. They'll stay hidden until the storm passes. Rosa watched the breaking news on television screens in the hotel lobby. Anchors read headlines about corporate assassination by Pacemaker, fraudulent cleanups, billions stolen. Meridian's empire was unraveling in real time. Clara's phone buzzed again, a message from Marie Running Bear. Daniel would be proud of you. You kept the promise he couldn't keep, the promise to tell the truth. 6 months later, Hollow Creek Valley looked nothing like the ghost town Clara had first seen. The foundations were alive again with construction. Fresh lumber scented the spring air. Children's laughter echoed where silence once reigned. Rosa walked beside Clara, both women surveying the rising homes. Hard to believe this is the same place, Rosa said softly. Teddy always dreamed it would be a true community, not a hiding place, Clara replied, catching herself with a smile. She still slipped into calling Daniel by the nickname only she had used. The Hartwell Foundation, funded by Daniel's insurance and public donations, now owned the land. Its mission, rebuild the valley as a research and education hub for corporate accountability and whistleblower protection. Survivor families had begun returning, no longer fugitives but pioneers of something new. Nearby, Joseph and Marie oversaw the construction of a community center. Carmen Espinosa headed the foundation's legal division, while Daniel's former allies ran programs in ethics, medicine, and technology. Meridian, meanwhile, was no more. Its stock had collapsed within weeks of the exposé. 17 executives, including Helena Vance, faced criminal trials. Billions in seized assets funded restitution for victims. Clara paused at a memorial garden, where names of the fallen were etched in stone. Daniel, Maria, 11 others who had given their lives for truth. Fresh flowers lay at each plaque. You protected them by keeping secrets, Clara whispered to her husband's name. I'll protect them by telling the truth. Rosa joined her, laying a hand on her shoulder. Maria would have loved this place. Clara smiled faintly. So would Daniel. As the sun dipped behind the mountains, Clara looked across the valley, no longer a forbidden estate, but a beacon. For the first time since his death, she felt not only grief but peace. Daniel's legacy had not ended with him, it had only just begun. Clara's journey from grief to courage shows us that secrets, no matter how deeply buried, cannot silence truth forever. If you followed this story to the end, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. More stories of hidden legacies and untold truths are coming your way.